All right. Welcome back to a Boneyard podcast, everybody. We are just getting off of the highness of the dev stream that was just dropped. Lot of great stuff in there. What is? Oh, I see. I'm your host, Big Bear Berg. Sorry about that. And I have Legendary here with me. And we're just going to talk about our first impressions of the Airborne and all the new add ons that are coming with this update and just some general first takes. And yeah, dude, Legendary, welcome back, bro. First thing I want to ask you is just what's your overall impression first thing out of the gate here?
So I think overall this is two major content updates because I'm sorry to say it. The devs spent the extra time the community allotted to them very fucking well. Because not only do we have so many airplanes, like I don't even know their names. Like I need to memorize all their names now. Not only that, but it feels like we have the second part for naval update that I'm going to be honest, it was sorely needed over the last 12 months. But we now have it, and it feels really awesome. And I think the complete package that we got heavily outweighs some of the like niche balance concerns that a lot of the community is going through right now. I know right now the community is pretty much on fire. Basically, a lot of people are very hyped for certain aircraft being able to perform certain roles, but you have to look at the whole picture. We have entire new naval hexes. We have entire new water logistics systems. We have entire new like metas for defending and building naval regions. So I think the complete package that we have now is very exciting. And if I'm going to be honest, I think the devs also themed the aircraft incredibly well. Like very much dips into the identities that the two factions have. Obviously, the Wardens are a little bit more aquatic in nature, so they have the more specialized naval-based air systems. But the Colonials were a lot more robust. We're a lot more flexible, and I think we're slowly getting to the point where like the colonial identity is actually getting to something other than oh that's just the NPC faction, you know. So I'm very excited. There's a lot to talk about. So my initial impressions is, like I said, I think the devs cooked really well, and I'm honestly, if this is the type of content that we're expecting for updates going forward, I'm more than happy to wait that extra like what was it, like 3 months? No, it was more like 3 or 4 or 5 months for the content to come out. So yeah, time well spent. So let's see how it goes, huh?
Yeah, dude. Just to tap into that, um, I'll be honest and say I really feel like as much as people don't like the way it is, and I know the wardens are probably in a little bit of a trans state of frustration, with the aircraft carrier. I genuinely feel that the Collies got the cooler aircraft carrier. But the more I talk about it, and I've even had a little civil war in Bone, um, just talking about the actual badass plane that they got, and the aircraft carrier that they specifically get designed to go out on naval parties, and the boat or the planes that they have for that. I genuinely feel that they have a very, very potent and nasty navy. And I feel like this airborne content might not feel like they got anything new, but I feel like this doubles down as them being the naval faction. Um, I'm not gonna lie. The coolest thing I think the Collies got out of this update wasn't even a plane. Believe it or not, I genuinely think that the gunboat and the smaller gunboat variants are going to be very powerful. I think that collies are going to have a presence on the water that has never been seen early war. And I think that the wardens are going to have a field day with us wanting to be out on the water with how their anti navy is going to work. I genuinely feel they got a massive boost in their Navy score, but so did we, if that makes sense. And I'm really excited to see how that turns out. I will also say I genuinely think that the Collies have a better land Air Force complex group out of everything I've seen. Now, obviously, we haven't done any testing or anything. This is just off first impressions. I think Collies are going to have a better land structured group. I think we're going to dominate the land air battle, but I think Wardens are going to dominate the naval battles. Um, how air superiority goes, I think that's going to come down to practice with fighters. But I don't think they got any support vessels for ground. Unless I'm mistaken, I don't think they had any support vessels for ground. And I think the only support vessel that got added was the Collie dive bomber. I think that's the only ground support vessel we got in the entire thing. So I'm interested to see how that's going to play out, how ground battles are going to play out. Um, to be honest, I am a little worried that they're the only ones that got torpedoes, and I'm a little worried that we are the only ones that got capability to strafe tanks or bomb tanks. Both of these things seem very thought out, but not thought out, if that makes sense. I feel like people are going to be like, well, that's bullshit because we can't do anything to your tanks on the ground. But then the Collie Navy is going to be like, well, this is bullshit. We can't torpedo, we can't put large holes in your ship, which the large holes got changed. We don't know how that's going to go, but we can't, do the planes with that. I'm very interested to see how that balance is going to play out and how the community is going to deal with that. So that's my general overview. I'm very happy with what we got, and I'm very ecstatic, but I'm also very cautious, and I see some of the holes that got maybe overlooked. And that's not me trying to be negative. That's me just genuinely looking at this from a veteran of the game and someone who wants the game to be really good. That's my general first impressions. Um, Now, legendary, you talked about you talked about how it filled a lot of gaps. Um, what gaps do you think are going to be filled now with the new equipment and stuff we got?
So first of all, I think the big one right now is it feels like a lot of the sort of work in progress that was left in update 62, so like the current meta that we have, it seems like a lot of them is basically going to get resolved by uh, specifically the bombers, not so much the dive bomber, because the dive bomber, as the devs pointed out, is more of a support role, and you're supposed to amplify a standing force with it as opposed to it just being a threat by itself. So the dive bomber's payload, I believe, is good. They said it's good against vehicles and it's good against large or ships or just large ships, maybe just ships in general. And from some of the preview videos that Robert Loves Games and I Saw a Bear posted on YouTube, is it looks like the dive bomber is like it's there to support other forces. It's not supposed to kill things. So it's supposed to do like tracking damage, it's supposed to do turret damage, and that's super interesting. Now, that is something that the Colonials have been sorely missing in terms of just having something that overall like blanket fills a lot of roles. So I would say that having a dive bomber that's effective against, let's say the best use case for it is uh, you know, breaking up Warden tank lines, which is the strong Warden armor meta right now. Is you don't skirmish back and forth. You basically just have like a solid tank line, like a solid wall of iron, and then you push forward. Having dive bombers come in and do like strafing dive bomb attacks on vehicles just to break it up, just so that you know, they won't be like two or three predators sitting in a row or five or six outlaws sitting in a row like they normally are. The dive bombers will now force the wardens to spread out a little bit more, and that is something that's something that we needed. Um, and the next thing is the bombers itself. Now this is this is faction neutral specific. Both sides have a bomber. It is kind of just side tangent. It was kind of weird that the Warden bomber was classified as a light bomber and the Kali bomber was classified as a heavy bomber, but they had the same payload. So I
It's
assume
not
it
the exact
might
same.
be it.
It's
Yeah,
3 to 5. It's 3 to 4 bombs off. I'm pretty sure the heavy bomber is 38 bombs, and I'm pretty sure the Warden bomber was 35. Which, and I'm not trying to get like,
yeah.
but but there's a difference in machine gun. Like the Kali gun gets an
Yes.
extra machine gun, and I think it gets 3 to 4 more bombs. Don't quote me on that. I actually might be able to look here. The Colonial bomber gets 35 bombs, and the Warden bomber gets 32. So it's a difference of 3 bombs.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
but it's a machine gun and 3 bombs. I said the exact same thing. Um, it didn't really make sense to me that we are considered a heavy bomber and theirs is a light bomber. Maybe they're considering armor value in there.
I think
That's
so. I think it has to do with armor. I think it just has to be like, yeah,
theirs can be
in
shot
general.
down a little easier. I think maybe
Yeah,
something like that.
maybe yeah, maybe we need to set up 2 fighters to QRF one bomber, and the Wardens need to send 3, or
Yeah,
maybe the
something
Wardens
like
need to,
that.
or maybe the Wardens need to like combine arms. Maybe they need to send up 2 fighters and one naval fighter. I don't know the names yet. The stripy one.
White
But the sorry.
Raven and the Harbinger.
Yeah,
Those are the fighters.
yeah,
It's the
yeah.
White Raven and the
Right, right.
Harbinger. Sorry,
Oh,
I
right,
just
Raven. Got it. Yeah, yeah. Let's get the terminology in and start practicing. But again, the point I was trying to make is the both bombers. I don't regard 3 bombs a massive difference.
I
Maybe
don't think it
very
would.
much. I don't think it's a massive difference. But
Yeah.
unless there's like a high velocity modifier, or low, I don't know. We'll see. But the bombers specifically, I think, fulfill the role of literally clearing the battlefield of garbage. And let's be real, wars have been very long because front lines stagnate, concrete settles, concrete hardens. You have underground fortresses, you have storm cannons, you have stuff that just generally gets in the way. And the last couple of wars, the majority of ground that has been taken is uh, the front not actually shifting, but it has been like spec ops, it has been tap ops, it has been flanking around, it has been avoiding bases. This seems to me that bombers are now going to fill that role. Once we start hitting that week 4 mark at the war, where things really start to stagnate, like let's say like a week after BT's tech, as an example, I feel like that's where bombers are going to start kicking in, and it's going to start opening up the fronts. Like the fronts will actually start to shift. And because both sides have a bomber, thank God. I was going to be really upset if only the Collies got the bomber. It would have just been completely devastating for the Warden side if the Wardens didn't get a bomber. But as I kind of predicted, I think that playing classes were going to be symmetrical. So thank goodness it is. But now we will actually get to see the fronts open up. We now have an answer to tier 2 slop now has an answer, because howitzers are still really strong. They're just a little bit more expensive to make. But now we actually have bombers that can go in and clear them out. And the devs have confirmed that bunker bases do not attack back at all. So it's like, if there's an airfield and bombers can get off of the airfield and hit your stuff, it's just you know that's just the way things are going to be now. That's going to open the front. No more, less stalemates, less stagnant fronts, more action, and that's where things are going to go.
I I was right about one thing we talked about previously, and I kind of guessed it to a T. A couple of things actually. My tinfoil hat aircraft carrier came true, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that was kind of crazy. I mean, we all knew it was a possibility, but we just didn't think yet. But something that I guessed to a T perfectly was the radar station being a superstructure. To a T, I guess that 100%. And I think that there not being AA draws massive concerns to me for a few reasons. Um so we know there's an aircraft carrier, and 20 mil and 12.7 is not going to be doing anything to structures, but we don't know what the dive bombers are going to be capable of. We don't know at all what that's capable of, right? If we can get an aircraft carrier to a Warden Hex and have dive bombers go knock out a, because I don't know if it's HE damage or not. I don't know anything about the dive bomber yet, but if we can go kill a concrete structure while it's wet, a radar station, are you going to know when I send 30 bombers through that lane? This really scares me. This really scares me, mainly because of how the water hexes look to me. And something I said when looking at, I gotta go find the map one. When looking at these maps, one thing you will see is Orebreaker got knocked out into the left. That might be a Kali neutral starting town or place now, which is very interesting to me. But here's my big thing. If we have a, and here's the other thing that we don't know too, is where airports are going to be. But if we can have an airport on Orebreaker and I have a carrier go in with a big old flotilla and knock out your radar system, am I going to be able to just come bomb the piss out of you for free? And then your scary thing that you said really scares the fuck out of me now, because now the realistic thing that you said is I'm going to go bomb your bombers, and if we tech bombers first and we have aircraft carriers first, we're going to come shit on your airport, and you're not going to get air. We're going to dominate that hex, and we're going to dominate this lane now. And now that we already have the foot up, anything that you're going to come try to get in here now, we're just going to QRF the fuck out of you and build our concrete, build up your airport, and then we have another push off point. These things,
Callum's Cape MPF is wide open. If there's an airfield in, I don't know what the cutter,
Pari Peak, or the gutter. It's called the gutter.
The gutter. Okay, so if there's an airfield at the gutter and bombers, let's say, have like a two hex radius, that's just a dead Warden MPF, right? There's nothing they could do, because we'll just destroy all the G houses. We'll just destroy all the G houses. We'll destroy every G house between the gutter to Nevish line, and then we land a naval force. And
you don't even have to do that, bro. It's easier than that. We just go up through Kuastrad, go border hug on Nevish, border hug where they can't build anything, they can't place any emplacements down, they can't even have AA. Go border hug, stay on the border, and then we just slide right through Callum's Cape, drop the bomb to piss on anything you got there. Say goodbye to your MPF. If you try to build it, we're just going to bring more bombers in. We're going to bomb you till it's, night's in. And these are the kinds of things that really scare me, not having any kind of AIAA. And I even said to you, the only way that we're not going to have to worry about airfields being bombed to piss is legitimate AA or AIAA or a superstructure AA. These things are really possible, especially depending on how tech works. These things are going to be happening. Like, if my little peewee brain is thinking about this, other people are thinking about this. I'm not, the most brilliant strategist in the world. It's really possible. And it's the same thing for us. They come crack down through the fingers. They come and start fucking cracking our airbase that's ever here. And then Shabam Laboopy, they're in Terminus. Boop! Same thing. Yep. And it's really crazy. And the other thing that also is really nice that I like they added as a side note, they took away east to west driving or passing, east to west, west to east. But also a weird thing, and I actually really like it, is there's 7 hexes on this side and 6 over here. We don't have a symmetrical map anymore.
Yeah.
That's
so one important thing, the world no longer loops around. That's something that the devs said.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it doesn't go left to right. Yeah. You can't travel east to west anymore.
Yeah, is that what you meant? Okay. Yeah. So world is flat update. We're back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We're so back.
So I think that's really interesting, and I think with that being a thing, I think you can start seeing real naval dominance in a certain side from certain people. Like I can see the collies maybe owning the west and the wardens owning the east, and then you have really big defensive battles on the naval hexes on both sides, and like they would have to crack through Origin, we would have to crack through Morgan's with naval. I think that'd be really cool. I think that'd be really cool.
Hmm.
I think the map change is good. I like how they added maps in. I really hope they don't put VPs out there because we would have 7 and they would have 6 on a north south war, and I don't like that necessarily. Like they could
Yeah,
have. I just don't like how there's an uneven amount, and I feel like that could fuck someone over. You know.
yeah, well, I guess we'll see. That I'm sure that could probably be smoothed out. If anything, they could also just disable one of our extra
Oh,
hexes.
I'm wrong. I'm wrong. It is symmetrical. They
Oh, what?
moved. It is symmetrical. Look, Orbreaker Isles is the same thing as Lakos Isle. It's symmetrical.
Oh, they just added a new. They just added a new. Yeah, okay, gotcha,
I
gotcha.
okay, thank you for pointing that out, Evil. I didn't see that till just now. It is symmetrical still. My bad. That's on me. Good eye though. Good spot and good but yeah, I find that really interesting. I didn't see Orbreaker pop down there either, though. It's grayed out, so that's cool. So here's the elephant in the room. I don't know how much Wardens love these two planes. Or not the paratrooper. That's whatever. I don't know how much they love the torpedo bomber or the sea fighter.
Well, they seemed very amped up during the dev stream. I mean, we were watching with the live reaction, and technically speaking, they get two torpedo bombers, right? Because they get the traditional Moray Eel torpedo bomber, but they also got the shitty like
Mini torpedo.
pre the mini torpedo one from, I assume, from the old Naki sub, before the frigate update, right? So my general vibe between these two is, and we actually had one of the main SOL like ship captain guys inside the HVL chat room while everything was being revealed, and he immediately said that the torpedo bomber is probably going to be a lot less impactful than everyone is making it out to be. Because right now, colonials are very much still like scared of torpedoes. We don't like torpedoes, and even though the Wardens now have two ways to deploy torpedoes from the sky, one being the mini one and one from being from the big one, a significant change is now also added in with the fact that uh, large holes can now actually be patched with metal beams, and ships can now be anchored. And this was something that we asked for the devs in the Q&A. And we said, can you now anchor ships that have been hit by torpedoes? And the devs said, yes, once you've patched the holes. So we finally now have large hole under wraps. And that obviously means that on launch, the Warden torpedo bomber is significantly worse off than the dive bomber, because the Kali dive bomber has this multi-purpose roles, and it also serves the role that the torpedo is supposed to do, just in a different way. Um, so again, I asked the naval guy, the main naval captain guy who like coordinates all the large ship movements, for one of the guys that coordinates the large ship movement for SOL, and he basically said that turreting a ship in the middle of combat is basically the equivalent of torpedoing it while it's running. Like that's the sort of strength that comes from it. Now, on paper, the Kali dive bomber and the Warden torpedo bombers are the asymmetrical equivalent to each other, but we have to keep in mind that the Kali dive bomber comes from an angle that's really hard to defend from. It you go from straight up and straight down, and then you hit, and then you pull back, and you use the air brake and all that cool stuff. that they showcased in Bear and Robert's videos. But the Warden bomber, dive bomber, torpedo bomber, literally needs to fly low on the surface. And there are multiple ways to counteract that in the fact that the torpedoes are going to be on the surface. You could just block them with another ship. You could also just have 5 or 6 of those new picket ships, the like fast moving, like like skid, like the little like patrol boats. They kind of look like patrol boats. You could just have a dozen of those, and when the torpedo bomber starts lining the fuck up, starts its run, it'll be like the trench run scene from Star Wars, where we just light it up with a whole bunch of these like small crew, like almost single crew ships. So there are ways to counterplay just from the offset from what we've seen so far. There are counter mechanics to the Warden torpedo bomber and the Kali dive bomber. Basically, you need a fighter in the sky, maybe multiple fighters in the sky to play against it. And it just seems like this could be a situation where the lower pop faction has an easier way to defend itself than the higher pop does. So yeah, it's that, and legitimately that's the big scary part from the asymmetric design. Yes, wardens have a way to make large holes, but large holes can now be patched. So the threat of them is immediately minimized. Whereas in the middle of a fight, what would you rather have? An annoyance of an additional source of water that needs some specific care at some point, or having a turret get knocked out in the middle of a fight. What's worse? I think losing a turret is significantly worse than having to deal with a large hole.
That being said, though, they did say we can repair turrets in the middle of combat as well.
Yeah, we'll have to see the numbers of that.
And they did say significantly more, but that is something to also take into consideration when talking about, what we think is better just right now. If we can repair the turret, I would arguably say, because here's the other thing they said about, or maybe they worded it wrong and I don't understand it, but they said if you have a large hole in a ship, right, and you repair it with metal beams, if that compartment gets hit again before going to the dockyard, even with like in the way I understood the way they worded it, if it takes a small hole from like a 120 hole, it would reopen.
As a small hole.
As a small hole, or as a
small hole. As a small hole that could be repaired. That could be repaired with BMATs.
Okay, so yeah, torpedoes are now not okay. So that completely changes my opinion on the whole situation, because that completely changes that whole argument.
So let me just explain to your audience. So the way that large holes are now, the way that large holes work now.
For now, that branch is not out. I just want to state that now. Yeah. For now. Sorry.
For now. So this was a question that we hammered on devs on the Reddit Q&A, because we were like, you kind of mentioned this briefly on one slide, but this significantly changes the entire dynamic behind the torpedo and the dive bomber. So we were like, we need more info on this, and so we asked like 18 questions. I think half of them was just about like naval balance. But anyway, so from what I've gathered from the Reddit Q&A, large holes work like the following. Torpedo strikes your ship. It creates a large hole, just like it does now. You now need to patch it with metal beams, and it will cost more metal beams than it did previously. So it's going to cost like, let's say 100 metal beams. Maybe not that much, maybe like 80 metal beams to patch the large hole. But once the large hole is patched, it closes up, and you can now anchor your ship.
Legendary?
So yeah?
Rooster wants to join in. What you opposed to that? I just have to swap the screen.
No. More yappers. I will say you guys are 2v1ing me again, so I feel inclined that I can bring on.
I have a HBL. I have a 4-man slide. Just let me know.
Nah, that's cool. Maybe next time.
I did meet a guy that's in HVL, Schuyler.
Cool.
I don't know. He seems like he might be a smaller name, not super big into the community, but he talks about how he knows Cronus. But I literally met him and started talking to him today, but he said he was part of HVL. I brought up your name that I talked to you on occasion through the podcast. I'm trying to see if I can help help get more people
Dude.
into the podcast scene here.
I didn't even have to change
Gotcha.
anything. It's still formatted for the last time. We all went the same one. I didn't have to change a fucking thing. Yes! Okay. Anyway, that was a small excitement thing. Streamer moment. Sorry, boys.
Anyway, so
yeah, go ahead.
okay, so launch holes. You get hit by a torpedo, it opens a launch hole. You need to fix it, and you're gonna have to use a lot of metal beams. So let's say like 80 metal beams or something like that, right? Once it's fixed, the hole is gone, but it's now like a lingering point that can get reopened by other ordnance. So if you get hit by like a 120 shell or a mini torpedo, it'll reopen the hole. But that hole is just a small hole that you can now patch up again with BMATs, and that it just you perpetually have to hit it with BMATs to fix it. So if in theory you get hit by multiple torpedoes, let's say dual torpedoes from an airborne threat in one compartment, you now have a significantly weaker compartment that can just constantly get hit again and again and reopen. So that basically is just now how it'll end up working. So that's a good thing, because this means that if your large ship, let's say specifically your bluefin or now your aircraft carrier, gets hit with a torpedo, it's not the end for that ship's life cycle, because you don't really care about, having to take a little bit of extra hull damage. Hull damage is nothing. It's the fact that you can still operate now. So massive change coming to the dynamics with naval warfare, and with the addition of all the new small to medium ships before gunboat tech, will really shape up the interest in playing in these new maritime areas. And it's definitely a bit, like I said, it's a massive shakeup for things that we were used to and what we're expecting. So now we actually get to see how this will play out.
Gentlemen,
Yep.
I do have a funny thing for the Wardens, though. They finally got the colleague treatment. One area they finally got the colleague treatment. Their AA boat is open top. Our AA boat is not. It's something really small, but our AA boat is not open top, but theirs is. And I thought that was fucking hilarious. I will say something that was an absolute sideswipe, because I thought our colonial gunboats were in a decent spot. I did not see a gunboat reform coming again. This is iteration 3 of the Cherion. That was a shakeup. A massive one, in my opinion, and I think it's really cool, but kind of not needed, in my opinion. I liked our gunboat. I hope we keep our turn radius buffs and stuff, because we do still have a turret that can't 360. We're still a 270 boat. But I will say, I think it is quite funny that they got an open top AA platform and we got a closed top one. Small funny, but factual.
Look, they're never gonna beat the allegations that our gunboat was dog shit. It's no way. Like, the devs had to rework it twice, like literally twice. So yeah.
I think that's the
I will
first
say
time
that-
they've ever done that, right? I think it's the first rework we've had twice, right?
I'm not entirely sure. Maybe there was stuff in like the much earlier builds for Foxhole, but ever since Inferno, this has probably been the most straight up like model and mechanical reworked vessel/vehicle in the game, I think, so far. I think the only thing that has seen as many changes as the Sharon has probably been the Bone Law, but that's been mostly just bug fixes, because the Bone Law was in quite a state where it was pretty much unusable. And I know they had to like rework the model a little bit to make the turret not clip into itself, where you would hit your own tank with your own shells. So I do think that, yeah, definitely the Sharon takes the cake for the most worked on thing that the devs have released in recent time.
I'm not gonna lie. Me looking at the boats, dude.
Our boats are much more sexy.
I think our boats are gonna be a lot better, and that I don't know if I like that, to be honest. I really don't know because we haven't played with anything, but I do think this siege boat is better than the shatter rockets. I think
Yeah.
this is going to be a fucking menace for island larpers to defend from. I think that's going to be a bitch and a half. This boat does not scare me in the slightest. This looks like a fucking joke boat. They're putting an RPG launcher up against a fucking 40 mil. Come on.
I will say that one thing to keep in mind is that the Warden medium boat,
It does get
yeah,
two twin 30s.
it has two twin 30s. So it
That is pretty
basically
nasty.
so it looks like it's the same sort of alignment as the current Sharon. So technically speaking, I think if you get the right angle, you can basically get 4 30 mil rounds and a rocket and an RPG onto a target. So I'll tell you what that is really good for. That ship seems to be a lot more useful at holding areas against Logi. So that looks like a premier fighter, the fighter, freighter hunter. So if you're trying to like do like a proper blockade, I would incorporate those into like your as like a ship of as a ship of the line, definitely. However, that being said, for coastal support, if we look at it this way, I think the Warden ships are much more suited to destroying a varied amount of targets. I think the Warden Electo boat, it will probably be used against things like relic bases and bunker bases and observation towers. So it's really good at strategically taking things out. Whereas the Kali one, you need to bring it's basically gonna be like the Rotarius. You're gonna have to bring in not one, not two ships. You're gonna have to bring in like 5, 6, 7 of these rocket ships. You put them in the line. You back them up. Assuming the turret is 360. I assume that turret kind of looks like it's 360, right?
I would
You
say
back them
so.
up. You back them up into a shoreline defense, and then you just spray and pray, and then you retreat. Whereas the Warden one very much is like, okay, we break, we clear a path, we put one or two of these ships in this position, and then you strategically take out the observation tower, or you take out the ops bunker, or you take out the relic base. Because remember, it's a high arc route. Those electro things are really good at shooting over stuff, which includes terrain. So this means that this thing could probably hit up cliffs, whereas the Kali one probably can't.
Oh my god,
And I think
legendary.
that's how it's gonna play.
Our
What's
gunboat's
up?
gonna be undefeated.
Why?
Dude, there look at the very back right here. You're not gonna be able to come straight from the 6, and it has a fucking wall there.
Oh yeah, the Warden ones. Well, that might just be a visual thing. That might just be a visual thing because the Warden one technically has like a little wall, but you're able to. I mean, I'm
That
able to
looks like
shoot
a
over.
big ass wall, dude. That looks like a, because you see the little outcropping for the tripod there. That looks like the walls we have right now on our gunboat. And if we can only get shot from the fucking like very limited angle on the side there, our coverage on our gunboat went from being we can be shot from almost anywhere to you have the smallest, slightest window to crack a shot on our. And who's to say that our driver's not even in the compartment in here? That would
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
insane. If our gunboat
Well,
has that much coverage, that would be OP as fuck. In my opinion, if this is actual cover, like stand up cover, that's going to be strong as shit. Or at least crouch cover, that's strong as shit.
yeah, look, I'm very excited to see what the gunboats have to play. Keep in mind that I think the devs did acknowledge that gunboats are the only way for small vessels to engage with large ships. But I will say that, in my opinion, I think the colonial medium boat looks like an absolute menace. It looks like it could just fight everything and win.
Oh, I
It looks
fucking
terrifying.
I'm gonna
That
be
colonial
honest.
medium boat looks fucking scary.
That thing, bro. Like this is what I imagine, right? You have one gunboat riding out, and you have like a little flotilla of like 2 or 3 of those to be your like ship on ship fighters, and you just load up our gunboat with some flame mortars and some HE, and you just go piss on AI for an hour, and then any boat that come to fuck with you, or if you want to go, what do they call that? Fishing. You want to go fishing? You just take out one of them bad boys and go shit on some ships. I don't know, dude. That thing seems wild. And
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna lie. I think the best looking ship out of the whole fucking thing, our light boat. That collie flag up top there, babe. Come on.
I will say that light boat. So, in my opinion, the light boats are basically just a fluff name for picket ships. These are picket ships. These are
100%.
ships that you have to add these to your fleet to defend against scouts and dive bombers and torpedo bombers.
100%.
So, in my opinion, that light boat. What's it called? It's in its name. Sorry.
Name is Sombre.
Sombra.
Sombre.
Sombre, something like that. So the Sombre, I would suspect that this is a ship that you spam. However, I do acknowledge that this is one of the few ships, besides the motorboat, that you could probably solo, because it's an enclosed. It looks like it's an enclosed MG, and it's an enclosed driver. So ideally, what I would do is you would set up.
Well,
your
it's only
battleship.
2 crew in total. You can only 2 crew this thing. I don't think there's a
Yes.
compartment to sit inside. I think this is that you run to the left, you hop
Yes,
in,
and you're allowed to drive.
yeah, and then you have
I
to hop
agree.
out to get like to the other gun. You know what I mean? You have to go out to get
Yeah.
possibly shot. But yeah, I hear what you're
But
saying.
here's the thing, though, right? You have to bring these. It's like there's no question. Like, it just looks like the Warden Air Force is designed to fight independently. Like, they have 2 ships that can launch into the they have 2 airplanes that can launch anywhere and sit on the water line waiting for combat, whereas we don't. So you have to bring these to a naval engagement, or else you will just lose. And this looks like one of these
Ooh.
this looks like one of these ships where you bring like you prepare as a regiment. This is what I would do. I would, if I was going to do a naval op, I would put an entire iron ship's worth of crates inside of a seaport, and you would just go, okay, cool, we're going to do a naval invasion. We need randoms to show up. Here's a picket ship. It's fully loaded. Like, pull it out of the seaport, fully loaded. Send it out there, and all you're going to do is you're going to move into a spot that covers the bluefin or the longhook or
Aircraft
the
carrier.
aircraft carrier or the battleship, and you sit there and you just monitor the skies, and that's all
Okay.
that you do. And if you die to like Warden Naval QRF, whatever, but your job is to shoot down and to suppress the torpedo bombers, because that's the only thing that you're supposed to do. And this is the direct counter to the torpedo bomber, not anything in the Colonial Air Force, in my opinion.
2 things that I just got bricked up over. The name of our aircraft carrier, the Poseidon, gangster as fuck. First of all. Second of all, our medium boat name, do you know what it was? The
medium boat?
Strider.
The Strider, like the water Strider. Like
The Strider. That's fucking hard as shit. But here's the part that gets me a little worried, because you remember how crazy 20 mil like boats used to be? Not like
Yes.
not
Yes, a
old
little
20
bit.
mil, not old 20 mil, but like new 20 mil on barges and shit, and just
Yes.
HVL
Yes.
going out there and being pieces of shit and killing gunboats with
Yes.
those.
Yep.
So here's what scares me really bad about their Sea Fighter. That's 320 mils at full auto with no recoil.
Okay, one sec. This is very important for you and for your viewers. 20 mil, as we know it, has now been renamed to 14.5. the devs have changed the classification. The devs did a label swap. So everything that now says 20 mil, that is a new ammo type, and this was answered by I think it was Mark Foot on Reddit, where he said that basically all the new planes use 20 mil. Don't freak out when you see 20 mil, because 20 mil is basically now the premier ammo type against aircraft. It does a new type of damage that is specific. It's like a shrapnel based damage that's really good against
Infantry
aircraft
and
parts.
aircraft. Yeah.
Yes. So 20 mil, the 20 mil will still be effective. Well, the new 20 mil, whatever it's called, the new 20 mil will be primarily useful against aircraft, and it's also good at shredding infantry because it does like this new type of damage. And if you're specifically looking for something that could penetrate armor and suppress turrets, then you're looking for 14.5. And all the existing
Yo.
weapons,
Your
and all
your
the
face says it
existing
all, Berg.
and all the existing weapons that have been switched to 14.5. So your Bakushios, your Highwaymen, they all shoot 14.5 now. That's the thing. Yeah, what's up?
So Carlos just maybe slipped a little something into
Right.
my drink that got me more bricked up.
He made a clip right there.
You see this little tower on top of the aircraft carrier? What if we're
Yeah.
cooking with a little weather station or radar station on that motherfucker?
Weather station, probably not. Radar station, very possible.
Bro, are you fucking kidding me? You can have a mobile fortress out on the water, dude? Oh my god, dude, you're out there. You just have sonar, or not sonar, but you got fucking radar pinging. We got 3 bogeys off the western flank. Get the picking ships and goddamn fighters up in the air. Fuck. Come on.
Oh,
I
that's
love the
definitely-
fact that they added the Sarahs
Dude.
on the side.
Come
as
on.
the
And they're
anti-air.
modified
It's
Sarahs.
not-
They're
yeah,
modified
they-
Sarahs.
It
They're
looks,
2 barrels.
It looks beautiful.
There are 2 barrels on those on the aircraft carrier. Instead of 3 Sarahs, it's 2, but they still have 3 magazines. I thought
Also,
that was cool.
I just want to point out that those Sarahs are very well situated to shoot aircraft that is flying low towards you. AKA,
I agree.
Those are the anti-torpedo.
So-
Anything that is designed like that is just meant to shoot the torpedo bomber.
What the
Whereas
fuck?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. If you look at the Warden, it's an aircraft. They call it an aircraft carrier. It's more like a catapult ship.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it like launches planes. I will say that those anti-aircraft guns, for the purposes of dive bombers, seems like for the purpose of shooting dive bombers, probably won't do much. But then again,
Something...
I'm gonna be super honest. Unless you can turret the catapult to disable it or something, I wouldn't actually send a dive bomber against that unless there's literally nothing else for me to dive bomb. Like, I would send the aircraft carrier with dive bombers to fight frigates and battleships.
Bro, I just realized this. Our aircraft carrier doesn't have AI against motorboats. Their aircraft carrier has 2 mortar spigots for anti-gunboat when they're anchored.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, we can't have everything, right? We can't have everything.
Oh, I'm
So-
just stating a point
so-
that I just witnessed.
so-
That's kind of interesting.
So
I
I
do
would-
want to jump back to something that Berg said before I got pulled in.
Yep.
VPs in the new areas. I
Sure.
think if they increase the number of VPs, and there is 1, maybe 2, on those bigger islands on the edges, they can no longer travel east-west, right?
Yeah,
It creates
correct.
a very, very cool, in my opinion, potential for a last stand scenario where we take the entire mainland or they take the entire mainland, and it forces our entire economy and production onto that island, and we have to make a last stand, try to push back out. I think that opens it's a very cool concept. It's not necessarily plausible, but I think it's a very cool concept.
Scratch that. I think we do have AI mortars. Right behind the captain's quarters. Right behind the what I'd call the flight control deck. That looks like a mortar right there. I can't see
So-
it.
The superstructure for the aircraft carrier.
That's quite
Proper terminology.
So
Thank you. I'm glad I'm learning that stuff.
So just to hop on to Rooster's point there, could you pull up the map, Bear?
Yeah, of course.
Because because this is something that Max kind of halfway said through the stream, and I kind of like wrote it down, and I was like, what is it? What did he mean by this? And I'm actually kind of dumb. I should have asked this, but he mentioned something about the roads. He said something like, "We want you guys to like notice with the roads," and then he kind of like stopped, and then he was like, "Okay, anyway, now I'll continue on with something else." Um, so I'm not entirely sure, but he mentioned something with the roads on those islands. I haven't. I guess it'll probably be a lot more evident once we actually get to Dev Branch and run around the maps and see what things are. But I'm kind of curious what he meant by that. Maybe the islands or like the little separate islands there are not connected with roads very well, and maybe you're supposed to do water logi as your primary like backwards and forwards, which would fit really well into the fact that we now have a new logi ship that we could also make use of.
Why is that a
light-
thing? Can you explain, I guess, don some logistics light on me? Why would you not just run a fucking a freighter with 60 with 5 crates of
I,
60?
I might actually be able to help you on that one. What clogs up seaports the most when it comes to naval logi?
DDs that get parked in a museum.
I mean, you're not wrong, but iron ships, right?
Yeah.
He said we would be able to pull these out to iron ships. So you're looking at it more as a from seaport to iron ship kind of logi. That way you don't clog up a seaport. It's
Well,
another. I saw it as more of a LARP aspect, but it does have practical aspects.
Wait, it's crates. So you could do crates of 120 out to a DD.
no. They said specifically seaport to seaport. So
Oh, never mind.
my guesstimation is the ship itself probably has a you can't submit this to regular stock. It probably has like disassembled crates, but something along those lines. So this is where I would use the ship, right? The biggest limiting factor when it comes to water-based logi, and we've been doing a lot of water-based logi for like the last couple of wars because we've been exploring using the bowhead more. Like really feels like bowhead is a bit of a sleeper when it comes to amplifying logi. So because of that, we've naturally been playing in more water-based hexes. So we've mostly been playing in Origin, we've been playing in Stemma. This war we take a little bit of a break, so we're not doing that. But here's the idea behind where this ship really comes into play. Day-to-day operations is too risky to just send out iron ships. So, for example, you spend the entire day, you're in a backline naval hex, you're cooking logi, and you prepare it all in the seaport, and okay, cool. You're now ready to take a delivery to the front. If you're just playing a line online by yourself, and this is sort of a task that you want to accomplish, if you just take an iron ship out, you're a massive target for pirates. Like pirates will go out of their way to find an iron ship, hunt you down, and kill you. So because of this, we generally speaking don't do daily logi running in iron ships. We normally don't do that. So the way that we do things now is we prep like 3 or 4 iron ships, which take 3, 4, 5 people. We then prep gunboats to escort, and then we go out as a big intimidating force. And everyone is armed to the teeth. Everyone has stickies, everyone has gas, everyone has everything to fight pirate ships. The problem is this is a 20 to 30 player operation. So if you just want to do, I need to take BMATs to Idolo, you need 20 to 30 players to do it safely and securely. But with this new this new freighter, this light freighter,
Let me get the name.
Like, yes, this it's called the Gator. It's the Gator.
Crocodile.
They named it off the
Crocodile.
Gator. Yeah, they named it after the leader of 420th. It's crazy. Anyway, the Gator, right? So the Gator is this is you need to run logi to a seaport to keep it alive, or to just to do your daily or daily logi task. It seems like this is a more multi-purpose, low profile, low risk, speedy little ship. Because keep in mind that if you've got a bogey on your tail and it's busy chasing you down, like whether it be a gunboat or whether it be a scout plane or something like that, you could just yeet it straight into the seaport. You open the UI and you submit, and you're done. If you're being chased by an iron ship and you park your iron ship, you now have to deploy the iron ship. You have to jump out. You have to jump into a crane, and you have to individually start moving containers. It takes a lot of time. It's a taxing task. So I would say that you use this ship to do your day-to-day like logi grind, and then you use iron ships for very specific, I wouldn't say operations, but very specific high yield, high concentration worth of tasks. So what think about it this way. I've been thinking about an analogy for this while I've been yapping about this is if you're going to just quickly do some mundane task in a logi hex, do you always pull out a flatbed with a container on it to do your like daily grind tasks? Not always. You sometimes do that to empty out your refinery queue or maybe to go fetch some salvage. But 99% of the time you pull out the basic logi truck because it's interactable, it's easy to use. This is what the light freighter is supposed to do. It's supposed to be a multi-purpose everyday vehicle. And my hope is it's very maneuverable and it's meant to work inside rivers, because that is kind of looking like what those new like subcontinents look like. They look like they have a lot of internal rivers, they have a lot of internal seaports, they have a lot of like internal mechanics that we have to play around in. So to just do that in an iron ship will just the fact that you have to get in an iron ship to do anything will put people off. And this is probably a tool to prevent that from happening. So I think that's where it's gonna be. Think of it as your new water truck, and it's not a barge.
I'm not
Because
gonna
even
lie.
a barge is also like kind of overkill.
I really like. I'm gonna be honest. The first thing is, I actually really like the look of the boat. Devs actually on. All right, I'm gonna be honest. This fucking thing is probably the ugliest goddamn plane I've ever seen in my life. Out of everything else, though, I think you guys fucking nailed aesthetic and things look good. This thing looks like the stepchild no one wants. That is fucking ugly.
It's goofy.
It's goofy looking. It's goofy smelling. Fuck. Ugh. That boat looks clean as fuck. I love the way this boat looks. I really do.
I will say out of everything aside from that plane, I think the devs definitely cooked as far as aesthetic goes. Most everything looks absolutely sexy.
The polish looks really nice.
I agree.
I
agree.
Like I said, I think
I
it
like
really
that
does
boat a
feel
lot.
like we got it. I would honestly say we got a double update, but the double update was needed because
I agree.
If you were just okay, let me put it this way: if it was just in a vacuum, we didn't ignore all the small ships that we got, and ignore all the extra islands that we got. If all that we got was aircraft, and let's add in the aircraft carrier for argument's sake, who would have gotten the better deal? Hands down, overwhelmingly, Wardens. Hands down, overwhelmingly, the Wardens would have gotten the better deal. 2 torpedo boats in a meta where Wardens just have the superior naval, it would have just been completely lopsided. It would have completely drained the game.
I actually have an argument against that, though, to be 100% fair. I really don't think that's 100% accurate because we excel in land, and I think that dive bomber excelling and helping us on land would have been exponentially still better for. I think both would have got pluses in where they're already really good. I think we would have already. I think in land, getting a dive bomber would have really excelled us still forward only with air, and I think having aircraft carriers, even if it's you lose your airfield, we would still be able to launch our legitimate fighters from a point and be able to fight air in an area and do dive bombers in an area from our aircraft carrier. From those two alone, I would argue that we still have a very good. I think it's more balanced than it's one-sided fully. I get your point that the torpedo bombers, both of them being exponentially like I think the impact overall would have been really crazy on the water, but I think on ground we would have still had a major advantage. In my argument's sake, against your point there. But I want you to continue your point. But I do think it's a valid argument, at least, to say both sides would have gotten pluses to what they're already really strong in. Go.
So in the hypothetical where we only got aircraft
Mhm.
and the aircraft carrier, for argument's sake, and the map layout didn't change, so we were going in with the same map layout.
Mhm.
With the current meta right now, is Wardens just absolutely thrash at taking those islands and holding them forever, right? I mean, go look at the current war. I'm playing Warden. We have all the island hexes right now. The only thing right now is, those islands, the core strength is they have MPFs on them for this war. They probably won't have MPFs in future wars. But imagine if Airborne released and they had airfields. And let's say all those islands have airfields, and collies just don't go into the water to contest it. It's a two-pronged attack with bombers from both sides. And bombers, like I said, remember from the previous podcast, is bombers will dictate everything in the game. Everything. Because it can actually hurt everything. The bomber is good at everything. It kills bunker bases, it kills facilities, it will kill Logi towns. It can hurt large ships. Like 32 bombs hitting your ship. That's 32 small holes that could sink your ship very quickly. Remember, bombers are significant. Without giving the collies a crutch to stand on against an overwhelming anti-naval Air Force lineup situated on a map that favors naval fighting, and solidifying it by giving airfields on naval hexes, it would have been an absolute shit show for playing Colonial in the Airborne update. But because devs took a step back and they reassessed everything that was added, I do think that we have a more rounded arsenal for fighting in naval. And this is purely based on the fact that we have more usable, more easily accessible anti-airships. I feel like we just have the better anti-airship. It feels like we have the better small boat corvette. We have a upgraded Sharon that can probably match up to the Ronin now. I guess we'll have to test it, but that's the general vibe I'm getting from it.
Well,
And
and
then
then the
on
fucking
top-
Strider, dude. Fuck.
And yeah.
That thing's
that's
gonna
what I'm saying,
be.
that's the corvette. Yeah.
That thing's gonna be
That's what I call the
so. Sorry, I'm not very naval. What would you say? Vocabulary rehearsed. So I don't know what corvettes are really. But yeah.
So if you go in the current, if you apply the Air Force that was given to both sides on the current, without the expanded map and without the additional content that we got for naval, collies would have been shafted completely and utterly. It would have been a miserable experience to play, because no matter how much progress you make pushing through the middle of the map, you have, let's say, 6 airfields, for argument's sake, sitting on the sides of the map, where your backline logistics hubs are just going to be bombed to death every single day. It doesn't matter how good your mid lane push is. It's nothing. It's nothing compared to your MPFs dying every single day, your ammo factories dying every single day, your infantry kit factories making your endless supply of trains and resources that constantly go to that mid lane push. If that's the threat that was constantly being presented, then having the better anti-naval air force would have been better. So, in that hypothetical, Wardens would have had a much better opportunity to play. But now I think this is pretty rounded. Obviously, the actual weapon balance we'll have to see, but just based on this, it doesn't look too bad.
So, question: do you think the Typhoon is a 14.5 now too?
Yes.
Okay.
All existing 20 mil is now 14.5. That's what the dev said. the new stuff is 20 mil. The new stuff, the new stuff. So the picket ship, the fighters, that's all 20 mil. But the old, I mean, if you really want to see this, go look at the Warden fighter. It has both. It has both weapon loadouts. So go look at the Warden fighter. The Hercules. Or
Yeah,
whatever it's
I
called.
see it.
So it's not what's it called?
There's the Harbinger.
Yeah. So there you can see it has a secondary 14.5, which means it's unique in the fact that it can hunt trains.
I want to tell you right now, P51, I think you're fucking crazy to say that collies aren't going to hold island hexes with boats. This boat specifically, just a mine laying boat that can actually be held with maintenance supplies. I don't know how that's going to work, maintenance supplies, but I think that. But I'm going to be honest, dude. If you don't see me in one of these, you got me 50 shades of fucked up, because I'm definitely going to play in a Strider. Like, hands down, Bones already talked about it. Like, we're going to play with all the new boats a little bit. Probably not going to do bombers. Just saying, we're not facility LARPers. We actually have lives. Nothing, not even a smirk. All right. That was a crack at you, but whatever. Yeah, dude, I really do feel like I feel like the Colonial Navy is really about to
pop off.
I think you're going to see all the players that wanted to make a combined Colonial Navy and really try it and really go hard in it, especially since there's not an east to west travel anymore. You're not going to have Morgan's Crossing and Howe County boats coming QRFing at Stemma anymore. I'm telling you right now, and the fingers of God, or the God finger, is still going to be placed there. It's still going to be able to hold Endless, Tempest, and in the Lycos. I'm telling you, like, the Storm Cannon change didn't change. Oh, wait. Large holes aren't as effective. I wonder if that's only for torpedoes. No, it's all large. It's all large holes in general.
It's all large holes.
So storm cannons, although are going to still be effective, that's not the end all be all anymore. You're going to have to actually go for kills on ships. That's going to be a lot more interesting. But that also adds so much bombarding potential for our god ship, which I genuinely feel like the Colonials have a better battleship. A lot of people don't like to admit. I think it's a pretty balanced, but I really think since we have triple gun, I really feel like, especially with all being reloaded at the same time, I feel like we're going to be able to dish out a fuckload of pain with a triple. What are you talking about? What are you raising your eyebrows at?
What? Reload at the same time? What do you mean?
All guns on ships now reload at the exact same time. It's not all
the
it's
all
in the
turrets,
patch notes.
They'll say all guns.
Wait.
So yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
Wait, whoa,
Don't say all guns. You'll confuse
pump the brake.
people.
Sorry, pump the brake. I know that you just said the battleship, but our destroyer has a twin turret.
Yes, it's same thing. We're gonna reload it both at the same time. Boom, boom, reload. Boom, boom, reload. Not boom, boom, reload, reload. Boom, boom, reload. Boom, boom, reload.
Hold on, because they also said
I need to DM our fucking Lord ship guy. One sec.
I'm telling you, I think our battleship.
They also say you're gonna have to communicate when all shells are ready to be reloaded, though. So it does add another aspect. However, the aspect small is, right, it still adds that extra communication aspect of having to tell your gunner who needs to reload that you have all 3 shells, you're ready to go. That way he's not reloading 1 shell and taking the time.
We'll just do what we do with engineers, Rooster. You'll have a commander in the front in the gunners or whatever, or in local, just say up when all shells are up. You know what I mean? We'll just do our tank cadence. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. People thought it was a lot worse. People are thinking it's going to be a lot worse. But I'm telling you, the battleship, the Colonial battleship got the biggest buff with that no one's talking about. All 3 shells loading at the same time and then cracking into someone is going to be insanely strong for our battleship. And I'm telling you, now that large holes aren't going to send a 4-hour trip back home immediately, and we're going to actually be able to stay and fight, I'm telling you right now, the Colonial Navy is going to start dicking down more concrete, more things, because it can actually stay out. It can battle better. And we're going to have dive bomber support with an aircraft carrier. Are you fucking kidding me that Colonial Navy's not going to go fight over that shit? Especially if they
Looping
put
back.
airfields out there? You got me 50 shades of fucked up if you don't think big groups aren't going to be going to try to do that stuff. You got me
Looping back
50
to your-
shades of fucked up. Go ahead.
Looping back to your comment about the finger blasters, right? Large holes aren't as much of an issue anymore, but putting pressure on the ship for repairs
100%.
so air can QRF.
100%. I don't
So,
think
like,
that Storm
finger
Cannons will
blasters
stop.
Smack. Oh, they won't.
But,
The finger
yeah.
blasters smack whatever ship's out there, and then you get QRF from dive bombers to kill the plane or to kill the boat.
It's layered combat now. It's going to be layered
because
combat
they
instead of one hit, one kill.
Really did well adding things to tie everything together. It's not like I'm gonna go play naval. Playing naval now, you really need to actually think about air as well. So that pulls the air aspect in. Some of our planes can do, or well, I guess ours only really that would be effective on land was the dive bomber, right? That ties air into land combat, right? There's a whole slew of shit.
I
and it's
do
just
think
like, it tied it all together quite well. I think.
I'm not gonna lie. I do think they need to change one thing though. I really don't like how our Navy. And that's not a Navy boat. It's our scouting plane drops mines. Something I would rather it drop is depth charges. I would have liked to seen it drop depth charges and had that kind of been our shtick into, because theirs is miniature torpedoes, right? And that's going to hit all land assets. I wish our kind of shtick would have been able to like maybe
Ground
hit.
assets.
Sorry, ground assets or naval assets. Theirs is the naval assets. Ours would be more ground assets, and depth charges are just HE damage. I would have liked to have been able to drop a depth charge on like tanks and also be able to drop depth charges on like maybe a submarine or something. So I kind of feel like that would have been a cooler thing to go with than sea mines. And at that, they're weird sea mines. I thought that was kind of a weird take. I'm not mad at it. I just wish we could change the ammo because I'm not very much a fan of what it is right now. I feel like it's very case used at best. I don't know. I don't think sea mines are. I don't know. It's just weird. Maybe
Something about the torpedo plane. They talked about how if you drop it from too high, it could detonate on impact with the water. Right?
Yes.
Or I heard that right?
Yes, correct.
What's to say wardens don't get good enough that they can just start airdropping torpedoes to direct hit ships?
The torpedo needs to arm in the water. It has to arm in the water.
But they're saying is it like a destruct impact when it hits the water from too high, or is it an actual like explosion impact?
So the torpedo only primes after it's been in the water for a couple of seconds. So if you become a torpedo ace, the torpedo bomber ace, and you just fly straight down and you use the torpedo bomber as a dive bomber, the torpedo literally will not arm if it lands on the deck. It doesn't work like that. You have to land. It has to land in the water. It has to travel a certain amount of distance in the water to prime, and then it's an actual threat. Then it actually does the high explosive damage with
Okay. That was like my biggest question when I was looking at or like listening in was like, okay, well, what's to stop me from just turning the torpedo plane into a dive bomber?
Oh my god, now you actually you get into the questions that I posted in the Q&A and I never got an answer. Something that brought an immediate fucking red flag to me. What the fuck were they thinking about 30 minutes not on goddamn Intel? What the fuck, bro? I was like, dude, listen, if I literally jump off of a high point with that parachute on and the uniform, will it prime me to get that fucking bonus? And then I hop in a Jeep, travel 2 hexes, and I don't have any fucking... Like, what? That's exactly how it pings.
Medine made a good point. I'll let Legendary go first. Go ahead.
No. Let's hear the Medine point because I have some thoughts on this.
Medine made a good point that timer is contingent upon first shots or contact with enemy. Like if you're seen by an enemy player or you've fired shots, that buffer like goes away. You are now visible to intel.
But for
because you made
partisans,
contact.
you cannot shoot, dude. Ducky would fucking get so many more super heavies going into backline if he's not pinging on radar. Even with the 1 to 3 chance, if he has 30 minutes of free scouting, or heaven forbid he wears a partisan uniform, carries a fucking parachute in his airborne uniform in the truck with a havoc charge or a hydra, God forbid he puts that shit on, jumps from a high point that he makes, and then has 30 minutes to dive deep once he's already deep in there, where he knows he's not on intel. Fuck that.
I don't think the parachutes are just something that you can use. I think it's something that auto deploys when you come out of the back of the paratroop plane. I don't think it's something that you can just use.
You don't fucking know.
I could be very wrong about that, right? That's why I said tinfoil hat there. Paul.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying. But this is the type of shit that scares me, though, because if that's the reality, I'd be
That's
fucking...
an exploit that would need to be fixed.
That'd piss me off.
So I will say that I recommend at some point Bone goes and looks at the HVL reacts to the Airborne update because we actually recorded everything and put it on YouTube. Go check it out sometime. When that dropped, when Devman said 30 minutes of pure invisibility, all of us were like, they could have just made the 15-minute meme right here, right now, but instead they gave partisans a 30-minute timer. I think it's interesting. Look, as the person who's going to be QRFing these fucks, because that's the problem. That's the cross that I will bear against people with a 30-minute invisibility timer. It's going to be really annoying. I will say, though, that the major defense against this is the devs did say that air uniforms for both paratroopers and pilot uniforms are significantly more valuable than any other uniform that we currently have. So currently, the most expensive uniform that you can make in the game is the Valiant Flak Vest, because you only get a limited number of them and they cost quite a lot of BMATs. We might be entering a scenario here where paratrooper uniforms plus the jump pack, the parachute pack, whatever you want to call it, might literally cost like assembly materials 5 for all we know, and it's made in the infantry kit factory. Or maybe it costs rare alloys, or maybe it costs, I don't know, RMATs. Let's say it's like 100 RMATs for one crate of 5. That's very expensive. And if it's not MBFable, that's even more expensive. And if it requires several hours to cook, like it does in infantry kit factories, because right now the lowest amount of time to make anything in an infantry kit factory is 2 hours and 15 minutes. To pre-prep this, it basically means that you're going to rely on large regiments to prep all this material for you. And if you're going to be a partisan enjoyer, sorry to say this, but a lot of the times the people like the Failing Parachute, Squid, 11D, those guys, majority of the time they basically get by on just using stuff that you can make with BMATs in a normal factory town. They don't need to play large-scale logistics for all these things. Now, they might be able to buy them off of other regiments like FMAT or T3C, with their land leases. But generally speaking, if we're going to go through the headache of you need to jump out of an airplane with a backpack to get a 30-minute timer to be purely invisible, the best use case for this will literally be an op where you take a transport plane to a backline hex and do something. Not I will jump off a cliff and now, haha, I'm invisible for 30 minutes and I will go sticky a tank. I don't think that's something to be concerned with.
No.
The dev specifically said that the uniforms are going to be expensive. So if it's like 10 rare 5 if it's 10 assembly 5s to make a crate of 10 or something like that, then this is something that's balanced through logistic numbers, not so much the effect of it. I will say that 30 minutes is a bit sharp, though. Maybe it could be 15 minutes, just for the meme.
I think this is where I maybe didn't illustrate my point. Like, people like falling parachute. If he had 30 minutes of absolutely zero coverage on himself, do you know how much he could get done in 30 minutes in a backline hex?
We are going to have to build better.
I don't even know if
Logi-
building, like, with the
Logi
way these
players?
high profile partisans play,
Mhm.
dude, I'm telling you, it's gonna be fucking disgusting, dude. Like,
I will say this much. I will say this much. In a vacuum, yes, these partisans are going to be very dangerous. In a vacuum. However, something to keep in mind. We've had significant buffs. Sorry, not significant buffs. Sorry. There has been a significant amount of bug fixes that specifically target a lot of exploits that these partisan players were using to get into facilities and cause havoc. The biggest, I will say this much, and I'm not going to contest this at all. The biggest threat right now for Logi players is if you build a facility that's too big and there's not enough internal defenses for it, transport plane can just drop 10 dudes in the middle of your facility. They pull out satchels and they start killing your stuff, or they pull out RPGs and start killing your stuff. That's scary. And I expressed that point to you in the previous podcast. That's scary. But generally speaking, we are going to have to build better. We need better internal defenses. We need more rifles. We need to make use of minefields. We need to build smaller, and we need to build more compact. That's the nature of how facility design meta is going to have to be. And this is something that HVL has committed to. At the end of the dev stream, we were like, guys, we need to refigure out how we're going to build things. No more MG pillboxes. No more, oh, we'll just make one observation bunker here. Now we're going to have to build multiple observation bunkers. We can't skip these steps. We're going to have to rethink how we're going to store vehicles. We're not going to use cranes as much. We're going to have to build train yards. We're going to have to figure out if we're even going to bother building BTs because you can't store them anywhere. This is all considerations that we're now putting in place because we have to. Because we now have to assume that at any given time, there's going to be a partisan that's completely invisible inside your facility. How much damage can they do? And how much are you going to prevent it? And that's part of the game. If we get to bomb all their shit to oblivion with our expensive bombers, they get to fly in and drop in and cause trouble. And that's a balancing act that we will figure out. Absolutely.
yeah,
Definitely gonna be fun.
I think, I mean, we're just gonna have to see. I'm gonna be honest. I was more than a little depressed we're not getting the dev branch tonight. That shattered me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. But I get why, and you know they're working slow and methodical. They're getting shit done. The other thing that also shattered me is how much they didn't put in the fucking dev stream, bro. There's a new pillbox people don't even know about that they have added in the game. They already admitted that they're having a new pillbox. There's so many other things that they were saying that like are going to be added that just wasn't in there, and we're gonna be putting it in the patch notes. And I was like, heaven forbid, dude. Like, there's probably so much in the shit we didn't see that would answer the questions we're asking you. And I'm like, bro, you almost had us wait a fucking year. We could have had a 2-hour fucking dev stream, bro. Give us a little bit, make that slideshow a little longer, man. I wanted to see everything. And yeah, dude.
So quick, just two quick things. So just to wrap up this partisan debacle. This is something that I brought up in the HVL stream react. A lot of people didn't notice this. However, I would like you to open the slides for the Warden transport plane, please. There's something that you need. I want you to look at the slide, absorb the slide, stare at the slide, see what it does, see what it says. Okay, the transport plane specifically. Yeah, cool. Now look at the collie one. Spot the difference. What's the difference?
Oh, ours can land on water. 100%. I already knew that.
Okay. This This is a big fucking deal. This is a huge fucking deal, right? Because this means I can take a barge with fuel and park it somewhere and have a floating airstrip for our transport planes. This means our transport plane has significantly more range than the Warden one. We now have a reason for partisan mains to play Collie. We now have something in the game that you can do as a colonial that you cannot do as a warden. This is a massive fucking deal. I wouldn't be surprised if dudes from Partisan House or dudes from Rados Club just become full-blown collies now, because they can do the cool let's sneak into the back lines and steal super heavies. This is something that the Warden 1 can't do unless they control a frontline airstrip. Just putting it out there. And remember, one additional thing before people start yapping in the comment section. Devs have confirmed you cannot steal enemy aircraft. It has the large ship treatment. So, ta-da! And that's how it is.
I genuinely... So, here's some other things that I think are really wild in all this. I think it's crazy that we saw the Colonial Scout plane cost 35 RMATs, and I assume the Warden one would too. What blows my mind about this is the partisan possibilities with one of these motherfuckers. Because these can land in water too.
Yeah.
And both of these are amphibious or water landing potential. So if you drive one of these back there, land it in a spot, I think there can be some nasty plays that can be done just solo partisaning with these planes alone. Especially with what you're talking about is going first with a barge or a little ship and getting some fuel back there for yourself, topping up, and then extracting, like stealing some rare metals, or I don't know how you'd steal rares, but maybe some RMATs, or you find someone's hidey hole or something like that. You could extract with stuff like that. Or I'm curious if they're going to have any inventory slots in the planes. I have no clue, but
it's probably just the ammo. It's probably just gonna have dedicated ammo slots, like tags up. I will say this much. What they could do is, remember, these planes can only be piloted by pilots. I assume. If they can only be piloted by pilots.
They said that in the stream, that you do not
Okay.
have to have a pilot's uniform on to fly a plane.
Oh, okay. Okay. If that's good, because what's the point of the pilot's uniform then?
I guarantee you it's gonna have benefits more than likely.
Like
with
what?
Probably
Like...
aircraft control. Maybe you can't turn as hard.
No, dog. They can't do
G
that.
suits.
No way.
Dude, are you kidding me? Why wouldn't G suits were a thing in World War II?
Dude, that's like saying, oh, there's a downside to wearing a Fabry rucksack, which is the engineer uniform when you drive a tank. No, dog, they can't do that. There's a reason why we have to equip the tankers uniforms, because you can stack masks and you can carry BMATs efficiently. For them to just say, oh no, fuck it, we put in the pilot uniform, but it's just complete LARP, and it's expensive and it's significant. I think you have to wear a pilot uniform when you fly.
They said that it's not the case in the thing.
No.
I don't know. So here's the thing.
No,
the
specifically
parachute.
if you want to fly a plane, if you want to fly the plane, if you want to be a pilot, I think you have to use a pilot uniform.
No,
Everything
they said
else
you
is
can
just...
fly a plane without a pilot's uniform. They said that specifically. You can get in the pilot seat without a pilot's uniform. They said that specifically.
What's the point?
Here's what the point might be. You might not be able to equip a parachute backpack for the ejection or something along those lines without the pilot uniform.
Well,
you don't have a chance to potentially salvage things if you go down in like neutral territory and you try to get people out there to salvage the plane. If you eject and parachute down with it, it gives you a chance to defend the plane as long as possible while your guys QRF to come get you, kind of deal.
I would. Okay, so the alternative is I just don't care, and you don't get pilot uniform or backpacks. Just fly with the.
Obviously, things are subject to change, and that can be a thing.
I'm not sure.
And
Anyway, but
maybe they said maybe they're because when that slide was up, I will say they were talking about they had the scout plane up and they were talking about the scout plane. Maybe they only meant the scout plane you don't need a recon or a pilot's uniform. Maybe all the ones that are in facility lock are pilot uniform restricted to be the pilot.
I could see
Or
that.
maybe-
That makes a little
or-
bit more sense as well.
Or maybe the pilot uniform can stack fuel.
So there's some reason or some method to it, but I know for a fact in there I paid attention when they said it. You do not need a pilot's uniform to hop in the cockpit. And I don't know if that's for every plane or what. I think that would be kind of silly. But I also think it'd be really silly because I don't think the pilot uniform is going to come out with a scout plane. I doubt it. I think maybe all of like it'll probably come out with a fighter and that tier 2 planes kind of thing ordeal. But I really the fact we can hammer out scout planes, I feel like it's going to kind of be like do as you fucking please. This kind of fuck off plane, maybe. I don't know.
I will say it'll be really fucking weird if you hammer out a scout plane and then you can't jump into it to taxi it out of the small hangar. That would be kind of weird. So yeah, I will say this much: the point I was trying to make with this is, if planes require a pilot uniform, let's just assume that the scout plane requires a pilot uniform. Let's just play on assumptions here. The way that you protect shenanigans is you just basically say, cool, you remove the primary slot from a pilot uniform. You can't have you can't have anything in the primary slot, you can't carry a large item as a pilot. That's it. Those are two things that you can't do as a pilot. While you're wearing the pilot uniform, you can't do those things. This solves a dude cutlering your cranes, and this also solves a dude havoc rushing your cranes as well, I guess.
What the fuck? Do you guys see what I see
What's
on
up?
my screen?
The new islands.
There's something very specific about this fucking one in general.
Oh, small train can go underground. I'm down.
That's a fucking cave.
update. Let's
Are we
go.
gonna start tunneling?
No speculation. Oh, we're not ready for tinfoil hat. Can I move on to the final topic, maybe? It's getting a little bit late here.
Of course.
The light is fading from it. So final
you're good.
topic. This is a meta discussion. How hyped up are we for Foxhole Premium? What do you guys think? Foxhole Premium. We dubbed it Foxhole Premium. What do you guys think?
I think it's gangster as fuck, and I think they need more funding for stuff. And I'm more than happy to get a cool little name. And all the extra art and stuff. Honestly, I would just do it to give them more money for better gameplay. But the fact we get all those benefits with it too, I mean, pretty much everyone in Bone was like, "Yeah, we're buying that shit." So,
pretty much. I'm just gonna outright say it. I think Foxhole is probably the best value for money that you can buy on Steam, hands down. If you get into the game and you put the hours in that we have, paying $20 for a game. I personally put 6,000 hours into the game. That's my current number. I'm at 6K. I paid $20 for this game. That is, I've never stretched $20 more before in my life as well as I've had with Foxhole. Okay, I've bought League of Legends skins that cost more than Foxhole. That's how good $20 is $20 goes. I am more than happy to pay $20 again.
They said it'd be less than the price of the game too.
I know. I
which
know.
is
I know.
awesome.
They haven't released the price. This is the biggest mistake that the Foxhole devs can do. Bro, I don't even need a special nameplate. I don't need a symbol next to my name. It's nice that I'm gonna get one. I don't need a special rank that they're gonna. I don't need any of that shit. I am perfectly content with dropping $100 just to pay for the music. I love the Foxhole music to the point where I have Foxhole installed on my work PC just so I can boot the game up and listen to the music and the jukebox on the credit screen by alt-tabbing. No joke. I literally run Foxhole just to listen to the music. It is
Now we know how he
divine.
has 6,000 hours, guys.
Pretty much, yeah. Absolutely. I'm not gonna lie. So I would say the biggest mistakes that devs have made for this dev stream is not make the soundtrack cost $100, because I would still pay for it. Happily.
Honestly, I don't even think they need to release a Foxhole Premium, right? The amount of time that a lot of the bigger names have put into the game, all they really need to do is be like, hey, we need more funding to give you guys better shit, and then open a donation link. I'd fucking donate.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, I will say, I'm excited for it. I think it's unnecessary. Honestly, it's unnecessary. Just give me a repeatable button on Steam that just says "Give the devs $5." I'll repeatedly press that button every single time I play. It's great. Foxhole is the best value for money for gaming that you can get on the market. There's nothing that gets close to it. There's no microtransactions. There's no battle passes. There's nothing. So I really like that the devs are. I really like that the devs are looking for additional funding. I think they can do more. I think they can make us. I think they can squeeze us a little bit, and I'd be happy to pay it. So
I think there's something else we need to talk about for it being the best game for buck, and it's very short but very sweet. But I did love the fact that they talked about it. Everyone in Bone was talking about they're worried that you're gonna need to buy a 5090 Ti to fucking run Foxhole, and I love the fact that they said that you're not gonna need. They were joking, but you're not gonna need, to boost up your PC. They want to make it as good as it was with all the new environment overhaul changes and how the graphical overhaul is gonna look. I thought that the game looked fucking beautiful. Like the new grass and the way the trees look in here, the foliage, amazing. Dude, like this town. Oh my gosh.
My only issue is, how is this going to affect building? I love it. It looks amazing. I'm rock hard right now just looking at it. But how is it going to affect build placing? That's my biggest issue.
I thought the same thing.
I haven't been able to test it. Because we already struggle with fucking the pixel perfect stuff on like hills and tree lines, right? How is this new build overlay going to affect that?
Maybe it'll help make us see clearer lines.
There's a chance that it helps, but there's also a chance that it makes it that much harder.
If there is one thing I really hope that the devs look at some point is I'm gonna nerd out a little bit here on another game here, but when StarCraft got its first expansion pack, one of the things that they did is they made the environment interact more with the stuff that players built. For example, if you built your base next to like a swamp, your base would get like the swamp aesthetics, like slowly grown at like tendrils and stuff like that. That was insanely cool that they added things like that. Like you'd really feel like where you built your base matters. And if you built in snowy areas, you would get like ice on top and things like that. Now we have that to some degree. With this new environment come out, I would love that if you built a bunker base inside of one of these like new like jungle biomes or whatever it looks like, if you leave it there for a day or two and you come back the next day, you have some of the like local flora like grow on your bunker base. Or if you're in one of those arid areas,
cool.
Like if you're in one of those arid areas, you would have like tumbleweeds like stick, like roll and stick onto the sides of your bunker bases, and they just add like a natural layer of camouflage to it. I think that would be insanely awesome. And then obviously we add a gardening uniform, and then gardeners unite to clean up all the all the crap growing on your base. But I think that would be really cool. And if we're talking about immersing ourselves in the game even more, I think the environment adapting to what the players are doing is the next step. Think trenches. Think trenches that become frosty over time. Or what if raining inside of a trench actually does something more than just add a subtle layer of mud to it? Like maybe you have like trenches that like get filled in. The environment reacting to what we as the players do is a good way to make it more immersive. So I'm
a literal
Yeah.
trench flooding, like a literal flood in where you swim in that little fucking thing, or you walk like you're in a like waist deep water in a trench, dude. When it's in a downpour, that'd be so sick. Trench foot. No, I'm just kidding. But
They had disease.
that'd be
Get
wild.
gangrene.
But something just to end on here, you know, some final notes. I genuinely think the question I asked you a long time ago, Legendary, and a question that I'll ask you now, do you think the time they spent was worth it? The delay, do you think it was now worth it?
If they just like I said, if they just released aircraft, I would have been disappointed. But we have more areas to play in, new approaches to tackle problems. I really do feel like the fact that not only did we get Airborne, but we got Naval too, and we got a better ingrained system that allows newer players and smaller regiment players to get involved with the game. I really do feel like it is time well spent. If we just got aircraft, I think it would have been a very shallow update. But we got the whole package, so I'm very satisfied. Obviously, myself as a big regiment, like coalition level player, lots of things on my mind. On I'm going to be focusing on how do I get the first bomber in the sky. How many fighters am I going to need to put in every single stockpile so that we have something to QRF with? But for guys with smaller regiments, that are playing solo, you now need to consider how many Striders are you going to be making? How many scout planes can you realistically afford? How are you going to set up QRF? I think that's super. I think this is going to probably be an update where everyone will have a chance to play with everything. Sure, not everyone will be able to fly a bomber, but everyone will be able to fly a scout plane. Everyone will be able to get in. We have an entry point to large ships, which is going to be these new Corvette class ships. So, I think it's time well spent. It's time well spent. Devs definitely cooked well, and they really thought about. It feels at the surface level, it feels like they've considered every entry point to Foxhole. So, for people who are still umming and eyeing whether or not Foxhole is a game to get into, I really do think that you will have more access to the game than ever before.
I think it's really gonna increase
so
new player retention very well.
I want to be honest. I really think this is, from the surface, the most well-rounded update we've received. I'll be honest, maybe and say even ever. Like, I'm going to be genuinely honest. I think this might be the best update they've produced. Ground level only, not looking under the fucking hood yet. But based off what we've seen, based on the testing we've seen, based on all of the looks and feels, hands down, probably the best we've ever had. And to be honest, I almost feel more like a fucking crackhead wanting another hit. I want to start touching the planes. I more than anything, you're worried about the logistics side of it. Here's my thought process. And as being a frontline commander, a Bone being heavy frontline, heavy hitters, I'm really interested in adapting and learning how to be effective in fighters, because Bone can effectively do everything in the game. Maybe not the best regiment at every single aspect of the game, but we are very well versed in every single part. And Airborne, we don't want to be left out of that. And I watched those guys play in the planes, and I want to start practicing in them, and I want to get, to be the first ace. I want to see the ace of aces. I want to see
the first ace will go down in Foxhole history.
like
Whoever kills enough plays to be the first ace, that will be like a household name across the game.
They got to record all 5 kills and post it to Reddit first. The first guy to do that will be the first ace of the game. That will be some of the hardest shit and competitive stuff that I want. I think it would be so sick.
I genuinely think I genuinely think the first ace will be put up near where seed is put
No.
pedestal wise.
Take that heresy
that
back.
close.
Take
Not
that
that close.
heresy back. Punish him.
That close.
Lash him.
I just want to point out
It won't
one
be that
thing.
close, but I think it'll be pretty
I
big.
just want to point out one thing. Seed is no longer a field marshal.
Yeah, I know. I think
I'll
that's
give it
weird
that.
too.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. I think it's weird. I think it'll be really
It's weird.
weird. I don't know what I'm gonna be anymore as a brig, but I'm cool with it.
I will say this much. There's now a rank called leg, and I need it. I need it. I need the leg rank. That's just how it has to go.
Then you start yelling at people every time they come into you after you get there.
Yeah, no. If
I
there's
don't
one
want to
thing
rank
I
up,
could,
leave me alone.
if there's one thing I will ask the devs is like, hey, please demote me. Every time I promote, I'm like, it happened again. Open a dev ticket. Bring me back down, boys.
I need a reprimand. I cheated. My punishment should be this. Oh, dude. And by the way, someone did do the data mine on it, or at least looked into it. There was 22. Now there's 23 ranks. So apparently there might be a new strain or a new rank to strive for, which would be really cool if they added that next pedigree prestige.
Also, hot take. You now have 3 categories with ranks. I just want to point it out there. If you reach like a certain rank, and I think you should be able to choose one of the previous ranks if you just want to LARP with it. You know, demote myself to being a staff. Think of the regiment LARP, where you could be like, hey, I'm an officer in my regiment, but I'm a brigadier general or whatever. What if you could just LARP with a regiment where you could choose what rank you are, what rank you're displaying? Because they added a new rank in the Foxhole start the supporter edition, whatever the thing that we're all gonna buy on Steam. There's actually a rank that says supporter. I don't know if that's something that I would like to toggle on. If I'm gonna be super honest, I'd rather just be part of the. It would be cool if I could have a little star next to my name, a little symbol thing that they're doing.
They do.
Fine.
They have a colonial sigil and they have a warden sigil. For when you
that's
do
cool.
it.
That
I like
I'm fine
that.
with. But they
I
also
like
have.
that.
But you also get the supporter rank. I'm not a big fan of that. So
Hmm.
I would like to be able to choose my rank. Just make it an option at the barracks, and the home region. So we'll see. Cool, guys. I gotta bounce. It's
bro.
It's the midnight calling. So thank you very much.
Yeah, guys.
I'm very excited. One final thing to say. Someone mentioned in your chat, and I just want to bring it up here, and maybe this is something you guys can talk about. One cool thing about the paratrooper thing that hides you for 30 minutes makes you streamer friendly. Just putting it out there. So if anyone ever catches you in QRF, call them out for being stream cheaters. So Summit 1G will be back. Hopefully, we'll see. All right, guys, that's it for me.
Yeah, brother. I want to say thank you for
And,
joining
good
the
luck.
podcast and joining a little late
Always.
today. And we'll catch you later. I'm gonna wrap this up here in a minute. But yeah, guys, that was a really cool podcast. Really exciting day. I really would like you guys to comment in the YouTube video some thoughts, some talking points. I would really be interested in seeing what your guys' thoughts are on this. And I kind of want to get some feedback because I really want this podcast to grow a little bit, and I want to get some more dudes in here and some more opinions because let's face it, we're a pretty small community, and I would really like to make that a little bit bigger of a community. And I want to thank you guys all for being here. I'm not gonna end the stream here, but I'm gonna end the YouTube video here. So YouTube, have a good night. See you later. Love you. Bye.